Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. Not too long ago, I did a video where I used this basketball as a guide to make this globe. And so now it is done. It's all dried and ready for the next step. And that's what we're going to do today, is to paint this thing, figure out how to paint a map on this globe. And all these curved surfaces make that a bit of a challenge. And then ultimately get it outside and into a fire. If you missed the first video, I'll put a link up here somewhere and you can check that out. And so now let's get this all laid out, see what we can do with that, and hopefully get it fired. I don't want to geek out on you too much, but laying this all out has been a bit of a mind bender. And here's what I did. I have a hole here that I put in for ventilation. And I know what the circumference is of the ball. And so I just measured down halfway down the sphere, which is basically a 1/4 of the circumference, and did that multiple times. And then you can see, then I just connected all the dots. So this is the equator. I just connected all of those. And then I could divide that into quadrants. And so I have the both latitude and longitude lines, just basic ones. So that will be my basic layout. But I also know that if I just look at a map and try and transfer it onto this globe, it's just not going to be proportional. I know I can't do that. So what I did is I found maps online that are expandable maps. Each of these little segments is called a gore. So I can use that as a way of kind of laying this map out. And I don't need to be perfect by any means, but I want it to look more or less right. So that's my next step here, is to kind of lay this out and pencil in all these continents and oceans, and then I can get it painted. I decided to start on the southern hemisphere. There's just less stuff going on down there. It's not as complicated. And so what I'm doing with each of these gores, lay it along the equator. And I think it's going to be easier to kind of cut these out a little bit to get the profile. As long as I mark each one, the beginning and the ending of each gore, and then have the point come down here to the South Pole, they each all should connect. The southern hemisphere is drawn in. Here is the South Pole. So Antarctica is here, and then this would be the southern side of South America. Here's Africa. I think this is Madagascar. Here's Australia. We have good friends over in Australia. And I think this will, right here would be New Zealand. So now the harder part is going to be the northern hemisphere. I have sketched in the northern hemisphere. So let's see here. So this is the North Pole here. This is North America. Alaska is over here. There's Florida, Gulf of Mexico, and across the Atlantic over here. Here's Europe. England would be here, and Italy and Spain, so on. Northern Africa. The Middle East here, and somewhere over here, it's kind of hard to tell. I've got India, and then Japan and China, Vietnam, and so on. And then the expansive Pacific Ocean. Well, it is time to start painting. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and put in the equator, even though it's not a physical feature. Okay, now we have an equator. Here is the South Pole and Antarctica. So the first of the continents have been drawn in. Here is South America, some of the Caribbean islands, Curacao, Bonaire, and Aruba, and Central America. Okay, here is North America. I have Florida down here in the Great Lakes. Canada, Alaska is here. And this would be Greenland and Iceland and the North Pole right there. And a whole bunch of islands. So Europe looks a little off to me, but anyway, this is Spain and France. Here's Great Britain and Ireland. I promised I'd put in Ireland. Scandinavia is up here, the boot of Italy. Here is Saudi Arabia. And then right through here will be the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, I've now got Africa in. I believe this is Madagascar, and here is the Mediterranean with a couple of islands. So here is Asia. This would be India, Southeast Asia like Vietnam, Japan, North and South Korea, all of China, tons and tons of islands down in Southeast Asia. Okay, finally, here is Australia and New Zealand. So it's all outlined. The next step here is to color it in. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go. So I am interested where you live on this globe. Many are from the United States, but many are not. And so why don't you put down in the comments where you are from, and we'll just see how many different countries we get. Here is my palette with all the different colors I have. Most globes would have blue for water, green for valleys. Well, those colors are not available in the natural spectrum. So most of these, I have some that turn kind of yellowish, and I have reds and kind of browns. I do have some white. So I think I'm just going to blend all this stuff together and not pay a whole lot of attention to the topography and do more of a wash. See what it turns out like. And then I'm also planning to use some sheep dung to get more of a blush or fuming on it and have a more antiqued kind of look. This is one of my favorite colors. It turns out kind of yellowish, kind of a yellow pink kind of a color. So this is a finely levigated clay. So I just mix water with it. A little bit goes a long ways. What I don't want is a solid color here. I want it to be more like a wash that you might see in watercolor. All of the continents have been painted this yellow color except Greenland and Antarctica. And so now I'm just going to add in some other colors and sort of see what happens. My hope is that all these colors just sort of blend together. I think they will. Okay, my last color is white. It's not altogether fair, but I'm going to paint Greenland white and then these islands up by the North Pole white. And I think it's fair enough to paint Antarctica white. So this is the end of it painted. I'm not sure what that's going to end up looking like when it's all said and done. Here's Australia and Asia. I'm hoping that these colors just sort of all blend together, particularly with the kind of fire that I'm going to have. So next step, make sure this is 100% dry, put it in the oven, and then get it outside and stick it in a fire. Here's a plan. I've got 3 bricks. The globe will sit on that, a little bit of charcoal on the bottom, and then 3 pieces of sheep dung that will blush, hopefully blush or kind of fume the outside of the globe. The globe has been in the oven downstairs. Be interesting to see what kind of stresses the fire has on this. Let's put some South Pole to the south. Okay, so I want to cover it pretty well with sherds. Okay, I think that's good. And now for the charcoal. Okay, I'm going to get this lit from the bottom, and then I will add more charcoal and bricks once this gets started a little bit. There we go. It's now in the hands of the fire gods. So the pot is down there totally covered in charcoal. And then I'll show you what I did with the kiln. So what I have here are 8 courses of bricks, and they're tapered in. The whole goal of that is to get as much airflow and to kind of create a draft. And you can see, I think, the smoke coming out the top. So ideally, more air means more heat, and we'll get a good hot fire. The fire hasn't been going very long, but you can really see how the draft is working in this kiln. This is going to be a hot fire today. The fire has been going for 3 hours, so there's no need to have all these bricks here anymore. They're just holding in heat. And I really want to take this apart tonight before the rain comes. Okay, hopefully in a couple hours I can take it totally apart. I'm going to take these sherds off, let it cool down a little bit more. The pot itself is like 250 Celsius, so I'm not too worried about thermal shock. It's very blushed. But so far it looks okay. Let's let this sit for another half hour or so. The sun is going down and it's going to rain in the morning. I'm going to pull this out. It's still pretty hot. I'll take it inside and show it to you. Let's take a quick look here. Here's Antarctica. It is hot. It's amazing. Whew. Well, here is our diminutive Earth, the globe. Turned out pretty good for the most part. I was really wondering if this round shape would cause issues with firing. But it's solid, and all the little tile pieces in the side make for a nice rattle. And if you watched the previous video, you know that some of them have health, happiness, peace, and love written on them. So it acts kind of like a prayer flag. I'm a little lukewarm about some of the painting, but the Northern Hemisphere generally turned out pretty good. I like that there are no political boundaries here. This is just our Earth, and obviously it's something fragile and something that we have to take care of. So thank you so much for you taking care of me. Appreciate it every time you show up. Always love those comments. And maybe remember, comment, where are you from? This is where I live, right there. I am sure we have people from all over the globe. Thumbs up, subscriptions, all good. So thank you very much. Until next time, this is Wes, wishing you health, happiness, peace, and love. Take care. Bye-bye.